What's going on, guys? Text HD here, bringing you a new trade sim video. With the Blues winning the Cup, I guess the offseason is officially underway. So, I want to review the trade that went down yesterday, as well. I'm probably going to review the Philly-Washington trade. Both smaller trades, but I feel like, they're pretty significant. So, Chicago, of course, traded Kahun to the Penguins for Olli Maatta. I feel like this is definitely a cap move by the Penguins. They're pretty, tough for cap. They need to re-sign Peterson as well. Maatta making $4 million probably isn't quite worth that. He's a good young defenseman, but isn't as good as he was when he signed that contract. So, Chicago trade over Kahun, who I think is a good young player. 23 years old, 10-9 overall, medium top 6. And he's still got 1 year left on his entry-level deal. I think he put up like 40 points this year in the season, so not too bad. Obviously, the Penguins need kind of like cheap forwards to play with Crosby and Malkin, making all that money. Also, they get Tampa Bay's 5th round pick. So, looking at it here, you can see trade value is pretty equal. Forgot to show you guys Maatta here. So again, $4 million, 4 more years, 24 years old, 81 overall, medium top 4. I think he's like, again, a good defenseman, but his contract is probably a bit more than he's like worth right now. But Chicago surprisingly actually has a bit of cap room heading into this summer. Usually they're the team trying to trade away those contracts. The fact that they're actually taking one on kind of shows you the position they put themselves in. So I'll try this here. Medium difficulty I feel is the most fair. I think Chicago actually has a bit more value in this trade, so maybe Penguins say yes. Trade still rejected though. So personally, I feel like it's a pretty fair deal, honestly, for both teams. And I want to show you guys what Chicago's defense might look like next year after the trade. So we got Keith and Seabrook on the top pair, Yoki Harju and Gustin on the second, with Maatta and Murphy on the third. Again, who knows how the lines are actually going to work, but honestly, that's some pretty solid defensive depth there for Chicago. As well, they have Bachvis in the minors and Bodwin, so if one of those two guys makes it, just even more depth for their team. And next year, guys, we're going to try to trade from the Penguins' perspective. As you can see, Chicago does have interest in Maatta. The 5th round pick's also on the block, but I feel like it's still probably going to get rejected, which kind of tells you it's a fair trade when both teams reject it. And I feel like that's the case in real life. Chicago has a bit more cap space to absorb Maatta's contract. Pittsburgh needs kind of like a decent forward that has a good contract in Kahun. So I think it's a good trade for both teams. We'll see what they say here. And yeah, trade is rejected. But one thing that's kind of crazy, guys, is after this trade, Pittsburgh actually has about $6.5 million in cap space. So if they re-sign Peterson even for like $4 million, say, they'll still have like $2.5 million to get another forward to add to the team. And speaking of which, I actually want to show you what the forward depth looks like. Again, we're just going to do best lines here, so who knows how it'll actually look. But you can see there, like, the Penguins definitely have some players, especially if they sign somebody. So again, I really like this trade for both teams. And now we're going to check out the Gudas for Niskanen trade, see how that goes down in-game. Like I was saying, guys, next year we're going to look at the Gudas for Niskanen trade. This is another one that was mainly, I think, cap purposes. Philly has a lot more cap room than Washington. Gudas isn't quite as good a defenseman as Niskanen, although I think he is underrated by a lot of people. Like, I have him on my fantasy team. He's not that bad. He gets like decent amount of points. You can see he's 20 years old, 79 overall. 3.3 million there for 1 more year. Obviously, this season's over. Top 6 D there, top 6 potential. Obviously, he throws big hits. He gets suspended sometimes too much, but he's honestly not too bad of a bomb pairing guy. And then Niskanen, I feel like, is probably a low-end top 4 guy, making almost $6 million, which is quite expensive. That's why Washington moved on from him. 31 years old, 83 overall, making almost 6, I think, for 2 more years. Yeah, so 2 more years there. And again, I think he's kind of like a low-end top 4. And like Gudas, although in this game you can see Niskanen's got way more trade value, for sure this is not going to go through. I feel like Gudas isn't that far off of him in real life. And yeah, trade is rejected. And after the trade, guys, here's what Philly's defense might look like. They got Ghost and Provorov there on the top pair, although there have been trade rumors around Ghost, so we'll see what happens there. I feel like they better get a good return if they're going to trade him. Niskanen, Sanheim, and then Morin and Haig. Not to mention, too, like I said, they have a lot of cap space, actually, so they could even sign 1 or 2 more guys. I honestly feel like Philly's actually in a pretty good spot this summer. Should be able to make some nice moves. And next year, guys, we're trying to trade from Washington's perspective. I feel like, obviously, this is going to go through. The trade value is so far on our side, so clearly the game thinks Washington really messed up here. But again, they had to get some cap space, re-sign Vrana, Burakovsky, maybe even bring in a guy. So, yeah, Philly obviously is going to say yes there. I'll also show you guys what their defense now looks like. 2, their forward group's actually looking really good, I think, in Washington, if they can keep it together. Like, just looking at it here, you can see good core, like, pretty much the core that won them the Cup is still there. And so defense, we got Orlov, Carlson, Jensen, Kempney, Juice, and Gudas. Like, that's not too bad, and obviously, like I said, they just relieved themselves of about $2.5 million in cap space, and I think Gudas is pretty underrated. So that's it, guys, for these couple trades that happened in the last couple days. Hopefully you enjoyed the video. Love to hear your guys' thoughts on these trades in the comments section. Other than that, thank you as always for watching. Have a nice day. Goodbye.